Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Don't Kill the Messenger with your host Victor from Ventobot. And on today's episode, I have a very special guest where we're going to be talking about growth strategy, right? She is someone who really helps entrepreneurs, and she's a growth expert, really. Tami, she's a breakout growth expert, energy shifter and speaker who inspires successful professionals who are dreaming to resign and do something new. She really helps guide the clients through sometimes overwhelming prospect and starting a new business, right? So it's really talking about fast tracking your business and how to grow it, so you can avoid all the mistakes that most of us have made, and very costly ones at that, when we first started without having anyone to really guide us and move us through what was around that corner. Now, before we begin, if you're curious and really looking for generating never-ending leads consistently and profitably, then head on over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the Complete Automation Strategy, our 4 phases where we take our private clients through. This book covers our entire methodology so that you can start to generate never-ending leads online as well and do it quickly and profitably. Now, welcome in my guest today, Tami. Hey, Tami, how you doing?
I am doing great, Victor. So good to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's funny, we were just talking off camera and we were just saying how it's only been maybe just over a year and since we've met, but it feels like so long ago. It almost feels like several years, right? And I feel like that's a cool thing and something interesting there for business, because business can feel super fast at times, but then there's times where we go into like elephant mode. There's times where we go back into cheetah mode, and then there's this give and take. So I'm sure you have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your elephant and cheetah mode because it's so true. Like when you're in the moment, you feel like you're moving as slow as an elephant sometimes.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden, things happen and you make so much progress and you look back and all of a sudden you're like, it's been a year already. Like, where did that time go? I apologize. You can hear that phone ring.
Yeah, so I mean, like one of the interesting things about when it comes to business, and we're talking this, I feel like this conversation can be both beneficial for beginners and for people that are already in business and kind of seeing some results, and they have clients and they're making their way towards scaling to their what their vision is. But what would you have to say? What are some of the most commonalities or like mistakes that you see most people do, or they have to overcome when they first get started?
Yeah, I think the first thing is understanding where you're at in your business. So, I truly believe there's the right things to do at the right time. And a lot of times when people are starting out, they get shiny object syndrome and they're like, oh, that looks like a really cool tool or a tactic, and let me go learn how to do that or how to do this. And they get so sidetracked with all the different tactics that they could be doing. But what they don't understand is that there's a time and a place to be doing them in your business based on where you are. And so, for people who are just starting out, I have what I call the different phases. I have a phase 0, which are the people who are still working and they want to get out, but they have either no clue what to do or they have an idea, but they haven't even started implementing, right? So they're in this phase 0, they need to figure out what to even get started with, how to even do that. And then they kind of move into phase 1 as they finally launch their business. And in phase 1, it's at a point where you're not making consistent income yet. You are just getting some of the basics in place. And you are trying to figure out, getting clear on your message, getting clear on who you're helping and understanding that and actually getting leads coming in. And so there's a lot of things that you need to be doing during that phase to help you grow and understanding what those are, instead of, spending a lot of money on ads and different things. Like there's things to be doing. When you move into the next phase, then you can start looking at some of the more, the bigger, fancier stuff, but you've got to make sure you're doing the right things when you're getting started.
I love it. So start simple, get fancy later if necessary. I love it. Yeah. Best advice. So here's the thing about that. I feel like it's such good advice that it can be taken and implemented. At the same time, it's just as easy to just be like, sure, and then not really do it, not pay attention to it. So it's important to pay attention to that, because I'm sure you're like me. You've experienced some investments as you've grown your business, and they haven't turned out as well as you thought, or at all. They've actually done more damage than anything else. And like we all go through that. I feel like it's kind of like a rite of passage, but I'm sure you have some pointers to kind of overcome certain things like that. And just like you mentioned with shiny object syndrome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's learning from the mistakes. And if you can learn that from other people, you don't have to make them yourself. And so Victor and I could probably tell you lots of mistakes not to make, but it's so true. And part of why I'm so focused on helping these people right now, because I want to see people be successful. And if you can implement the right things at the right time, you are going to be more successful. So, not trying to skip steps and just think that, you can figure it out better than anyone else. And yes, I have, spent time, spent a good year like working behind the computer on things and like trying to build all this stuff and funnels and all these things.
Yep.
And wasted a lot of time and money. I mean, I learned a lot from it, and there's things I can use in the future. But if I would have been doing different steps, I could have gotten momentum a lot faster.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that, spending so much time behind the computer, because I would say the first couple of years in business for myself, that's exactly what I did. Because I run an agency, I run a consulting side as well, but the agency side of things, like we do that, it's done for you, right? And yeah. I did that through my network. I reached out to like colleagues, and it was a lot of like reaching out and everything like that. But like you mentioned, I could have stayed behind there. I could have actually gone out, helped people further, and then just be seen by all those people and potential clients and prospects so that they would want to work with me. Instead, I was stuck behind trying to do the things. And I even though I run ads and I teach people how to run ads, I never recommend starting there.
Yeah. And I appreciate that about you, which is one of the things I love about you, because you're willing to tell people that there's a time and a place to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people don't understand is, if somebody is out there selling ads and that's their business, they don't necessarily care where you're at in your business always. And there are a handful like you, and I know a couple others that, are more willing to say, listen, I only work with people who are making this consistent amount of income, and this is what I do, and this is why. And I appreciate that because, I've been misled, and you alluded to it as well earlier, by people who are just like, this is what you need to do, and it's the one thing that's going to make your business so successful.
To 7 figures, it's a secret to 6 figures, and you can live on the beach and work one day a year. Yes. Like I get it. We all fall for it. It's marketing. Like I'm not saying that like I do that, but I'm saying we have to hype things up in marketing to make sure that people like interact, right?
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. It's there's a time and a place for it all. And like, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this too, but like people say, one of the first things I've heard consistently is like, especially for people that are just starting out, they're like, I need a website. I'm getting my website done. I'm still waiting for my website to be done before I do this. Like, yes, it's always that piece of tech that they're trying to get done before they actually go find clients. I'm like, why?
Yes. I 100% agree. I mean, I know people with successful 6-figure, 7-figure businesses that have never even had a website. Like, there is a way and a method to do things without having to delay yourself. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday because she was like, well, I need to get this done and this done and this done. And then she's trying to market to 3 different people. And I'm like, you haven't launched your business in 6 months because you're trying to build 3 different programs with 3 different, like, no, like, stop. You've got to start with one thing.
Oh, no.
You've got to get clear on what that one thing is and then get yourself out there. I don't care about your website yet. Like, go tell people what you're doing because you need to see what resonates so you even know what to put on your website.
Yeah. If I can provide any form of advice, it would definitely be sell before you build. Like, yes, enroll people into it before you actually build it. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how many times I've fallen into that trap. I'm going to build this awesome course. I'm going to build this awesome program. Like, I'm going to go through all these pieces. It takes me a month or 2. And then I go to put it out there and nobody wants it. So that I don't get that time back.
Right. Or the money you've invested to do all this stuff.
Yes, exactly.
The time and money that gets wasted is incredible. And that's why it's, I'm so passionate about like, let's do this the right way.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much to be said about, you and where you're at in your business. And you do a lot of the tech for companies and for businesses, but you're still very transparent about this is what I've done wrong. And this is what you need to avoid. And don't do this at this time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what can you say, what can you speak to as far as like, what are some of the, so now that we've talked about what not to do.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you believe people need to start first or do first?
Yes. So what I describe is a clarity trifecta. And I talk about this in the book I have coming out. And it's, if you think of a triangle, and on the three sides of the triangle are confidence, courage, and commitment. And in the middle of the triangle is a circle that's for clarity. And when you first start out, that whole clarity trifecta is like minuscule. It's like this big. And that circle in the middle with clarity is what is going to push and expand your clarity trifecta. It's what's going to help you grow your confidence, your courage, and your commitment. And what I mean by that is you've got to start with clarity. Everything starts with getting clear on what your business is, who are you helping, how are you going to help that person, what's the tangible result you get for that person. And as you get clear on those things, and as you get clear on the strategies and how you can make that happen, as you get clear on understanding how other people have made it happen, then your confidence starts to grow and you have this belief that it can happen. And then you have the courage to actually take the first step. And then you have the courage to take the next step, and it continues to grow, and your commitment grows as your clarity grows.
Yep.
And I think it all starts with that. And, I describe this like as a triangle, because a triangle can't roll on its own, and you need to be able to roll to build momentum.
Yep.
There's actually a circle around it, which is consistency. And so you can't do any of this without consistency. And so those are like my 5 keys to making any change, whether it's starting a business or anything else. You've got to start with those pieces. And so for those of you starting your business and getting started, and you may have already started your business, but you're not getting the momentum you need, it's because you're either not clear on your message, you're not clear on who you're helping, you're not clear on what your packages are, or you're not clear on how to go get those leads in the right way for where you're at in your business.
Yeah. I love that, because the consistency portion of it, I run in, like, especially when I first started, you kind of attract who you are, right? And it's really interesting because, like, I would go networking a lot for a lot of local events and stuff like that. And I have like coaches, real estate agents and whatnot. Some people try to start other businesses and whatnot. I swear there was at least 1 or 2 people that I would go to and I'd see consistently, but then every now and then when I'd have a conversation with them, they're always doing something different. They're like, oh yeah, this month I'm, I don't know, not to like dodge any, I'm like a Mary Kay consultant. And then like next month I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing life coaching. And then the month after that, they're like, oh yeah, so we have this new supplement thing, and I'm doing a lot with fitness. I'm coaching people on fitness. So it's like, what that tells me is, from a client's perspective, if I were ever to work with this person, it was like, I'm probably not going to get the results I want because they're not doing it long enough to get the results they want. Right? We attract who we are. I love using that, because if they're consistently changing, what makes you think that you're not going to run into people or attract the type of leads or clients that are always also consistently changing and changing their minds?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, the people that are chasing the shiny object syndrome, so they heard this person did it good, and they're not committed to actually building something, and they're not clear on what that could be. And so they take a step, and then they're like right back, and even 5 steps backwards, because they don't think they can make it happen.
Yeah.
And so that's where all this comes in, is you've got to have that commitment to take that first step. You've got to get that clarity of what it is, and then you've got to do it consistently. I mean, it's, I swear everybody's going to change what they do at some point in their business. We're not telling you that you can't change but you have to stick to something minimum 6 months. Like, stick to your message, like minimum, a couple years would be great, but you've got to create that understanding, because otherwise people have that same reaction to you have to a person who's going Mary Kay and then this and then this. You know, they just don't know what they want. They confuse you because, and no one's ever going to want to work with you if you're that person, because they don't think you're going to commit to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you end up feeling like like if I were to come to someone like that, I'm going to feel like I'm like, well, next month, they might not even want to work with me because like if I haven't reached my goal and it takes 3 months to reach let's say they were fitness by the time I met them, you know, like they said 90 days, you're going to be this. Great. By month 2 though, they're like, oh, we're doing something else now. Like, well, that doesn't help me with my goal. Like I wanted to do that for 90 days, but you didn't want, you know what I mean? Like it just creates a whole, it's
exactly.
So what can you speak to that helps people really stay focused around that, really focus on that commitment? Because I've heard it a bunch of times. I don't believe this to be true specifically, like follow your passion and you'll make large sums of money type of deal. Like, I don't believe that to be true. If I were to do that, I probably wouldn't be here now. I'd be gardening and playing with my kids. You know, like that's what I find passionate, you know, but I'm sure, again, you have quite a bit to say about that, but like, what can you say to people to help people stay focused and really help define where they're truly going?
Yeah, I think a big thing with being focused is, you know, people get distracted because they don't believe that it could actually happen. So one, you've got to build that belief. And part of doing that is understanding, you know, who can help you get there? How can you make that happen, and having the right strategy? So that's one piece I would say is you've got to, you know, get the support that you need in order to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've both heard Suzanne Evans say multiple times, you know, your business equals profits, right? It's not passion equals profits. It's business equals profits.
Yeah.
And you go do your passion on the side. And, you know, I agree with you that, like, I mean, you want to like what you're doing, but this is a business. And, you know, you can incorporate things like I have a passion for travel, right? And I incorporate retreats into my business. This year it's a little different. We're doing virtual, but that's okay. We're still gonna have a lot of fun.
Right.
But, you know, there's ways to incorporate your passions into, but it's not, you know, this whole your passion's going to make you profit. So get clear on what you can help people with, that tangible result. You can't just be, I'm a life coach and just, you know, soul searcher, blah, blah, blah. Like, people tune out.
Yeah.
Like, specifically, what are you helping them with?
Mm-hmm. I love that, because there's, and not, I feel like we're kind of picking on life coaches, but I'm going to keep doing it because I feel like it needs to be heard.
Yeah.
It's not that there's an issue with being a life coach in general. It's
correct.
How do you provide that outcome of why they would want to work with you? No one, like, you know, we can always go back to, like, no one wakes up to, like, I need a life coach. You know, like, no, I have specific problems in my life that I want resolved. And if that life coach focuses on those areas, wow, I need that person. You know, and if another life coach focuses on another set of areas, like there could be a life coach that focuses on parents and having better relationship with their kids. That is super valuable to me. So I would love to have that much more interaction and that much more closeness with my children. But if I was single and it was like how to truly feel like you're on fire and feel like you're living to your fullest potential, that life coach could talk about that specific outcome. And they repel the people like me who are parents. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on fire best when I'm like hanging out with my family. That's me. Compared to like when I was single, I was like, I want to party, I want to go out, I want to travel, I want to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's like two different, both life coaches, two different areas of focus, but how they speak to those people is different. And it helps them resonate with, like you mentioned it earlier, resonate with those people better because of that messaging is clear now. And they have that clarity, and like that triangle that you're mentioning is now a lot bigger because they know who they're talking to and who they're not talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you clarified it, because we're not picking on anyone. What we're trying to do is help you to resonate with more people, help you to get the right message. Because when you are that generalist, it's, you have a conversation and, when you just tell somebody, yeah, I help you with life transitions. Well, what does that mean, right? When you say, yeah, I mean, it's general, and people are like, that's nice. And, you may get a few reactions, but if you say, I help someone, I'll just use, I'm helping someone who's going from employee to entrepreneur, from corporate to cash in their business is what I say. That's more specific and going to have a very different landing with people, because then people are like, oh, who do I know that's going from working in corporate to starting their business? And then they know who to refer to you versus, I'm helping people through transitions. And so the more,
so many transitions, yeah.
There's so many transitions. There are, yes. And it could be multiple things, and there could be multiple reasons, it could be divorce, it could be whatever. I mean, there's just so many angles you can take with that if you're not clear, people are kind of like, I don't know if that's what they do. Maybe they do it. But when you have that clear message, it just lands with people. And it may not be that person, but they're like, oh, I know someone who. And when you start getting that response from people, you've hit a good target.
Yep, exactly. I love that. If you get it reminds me of one of my all-time favorite books called Never Split the Difference. And it's a book about negotiation, but it's and a lot of marketing books talk a lot about this too. When you can get someone thinking like that's right, or saying something along the lines of just like nodding and saying like, it's like you're the voice inside my head, like you're saying what I'm feeling. When you can explain it better than your prospect or lead or potential audience can, they automatically give you they merit you with, you have the answer. You obviously have the answer because you can explain it better than I was ever able to explain it. If someone, like you mentioned, is transitioning from corporate to their own business or entrepreneur, like they probably have so many questions, and those questions, if you put them out there, allows you to just immediately resonate with those people. But then there's the other people that are in corporate, they're like, yeah, we're just kind of like, I have a 6-figure like W-2. That's totally fine. I'm never looking to start my own business. Well, you're not speaking to those people, so what you say completely just repels them.
Yes. Yep. And it makes it so much easier for you to work with people because you have the right people in your field of clients, and you start to realize who you don't want to work with and who you do want to work with.
Yeah. So tell me more a little bit about this book here. You have, it's coming out, I believe, next month. You mentioned in October.
Yeah, the pre-launch is up on my website, but it's coming out in late October, early November. And it is called You've Already Made the Decision, You're Just Not Happy with It. And it's a guide on how to make better decisions or a lasting change in your life. So if you've been saying you want to do something and haven't been able to do it, it will give you the right tools. And, there's some quick decision-making tools in there. And then there's some things, they take a lot longer and it's a bigger process for us. And so there is a guide in there to help you through that.
I love that because I feel like with this whole pandemic, it's for me, I consider it a complete blessing, right? I was just like, man, the whole world slowed down. This is awesome. It gave me time to think, and it gave us time to adjust with everything happening. And it put a realization in a lot of people of like, holy moly, this online stuff is necessary. I'm like, well, yeah, it's been necessary for several years now, but that's neither here nor there. To get back to your point and to wrap up what I was saying is this pandemic, it's been like 6-7 months now, I believe, this whole quarantine, stay at home, not really travel anywhere and whatnot. Sure, people are hurting. People may not be in a position to start their own business or not know how. They may not have the guidance or even knew that was a possibility. At the same time, there's been a lot of people who are like, man, one day I wanted to start this thing. And sure enough, this hit. And they were just like, man, one day when this is over, it just changed from one day when I can start it. And then when this happened, it became one day when this is over, I'll start it. And I'm like, why wait? Right. I think that's what you're getting at with your book. It's like giving them a little push of like, if you truly want this, do it. No one's going to give it to you.
Absolutely. I mean, and so there, but with my title of you've already made the decision, you're just not happy with it, there's multiple angles to that, right?
Yeah.
So there's like, you said you've made a choice that you want to make a change, you want to do something, but you haven't done it yet. So go out and do it. And then there's the other, like, because you keep saying you want to do it and you haven't done it, you really made the decision not to do it.
Yeah.
And so either you need to make a new decision or you need to like actually step up and do what you've said. So yeah, I mean, there's, and I feel for the people who have been, let go, furloughed. I mean, there's been so many people,
Yeah.
everyone has been impacted in some way or another. And there's not a whole lot that people can do if they don't start taking steps, right? So you can just sit back and wait for this to change. I had a client who I had sat down and had coffee with probably end of last year, and we were just talking, and he wasn't a client at the time, and talking about his job and where things were going, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing fine, everything's great. A month later, he sets up a call to talk to me because he's like, well, I think I want to make a change and start working on consulting on the side and doing some things. And so we set up a time to meet. The day before we met, he calls me and says, I can't meet tomorrow. I just got let go of my job today. And he was just so pissed off. He's like, I need a couple days to calm down. And so when he came in a few days later and we started talking, I said, there was some part of you that wanted this because that's the reason you set up this call with me. So can you figure out that there is some good in this and understand that this didn't happen to you. This actually happened for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he, was able to start his consulting business, and he's, continuing to grow it this year. And not that it hasn't gone through his challenges, but that's the thing. Like, if you're one of those people, chances are there was probably something else in your mind you wanted to do. A lot of times we bring this to fruition because we've had this desire to do something, but then when it comes, we get all pissed off about it, and then we don't do anything.
It's really funny. A quick story to touch on that. I feel like when, as far as business goes, for the longest time, when I first started, I was like, man, I really want to work with like a business that's super established, like they're already making 7 figures. I really want to do that. That came my way a few times. I've worked with several businesses like that now. However, I found most often they have a team already, and they're looking to work with someone I meet to help consult certain things. I was not ready at that time. I was not fully prepared and ready because I was so used to working with people that were more starting up, and like not starting up, but like they were at a certain level and getting to that point. And when I got it, it very quickly made me realize I was not prepared for this, even though I was asking for it. So what I asked for, what I wanted, was not what I ended up needing. Right. So, and oftentimes people do that. And I feel like your story just kind of set that example. Like, I want to start my consulting business. I want to do that. What they need, most likely, in this case, you can tell me how that conversation went, but probably what that person needed was more of an exit plan. But that's not what they wanted. They wanted to start it, maybe have it successful, and they can be like, I want to leave on my terms. Like what they wanted and what they needed were two different things. Yeah. And you probably helped them transition out of it and like help them start it, because it sounds like he's pretty successful now. So
I love how you said that, like what we say we want isn't always what we need, because that is so true in so many situations. Or it's like this dream we have, but we have no idea when we get there how to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so having the right path in place and understanding what we need to do in order to get there is so critical. It's funny because when you were just saying that, it reminded me of last year. My husband and I went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery, and he talks about how you need to work, on your business, not in your business. And my husband's a chiropractor, and he's always working in the business, right? He's the doctor. And so he came back from that, and we had all these goals and thinking about how he can grow and start working more on the business and some of the things he needed to do. And a month later, he got in a car accident and hurt his shoulder. And
Oh, wow.
had to bring in another doctor to help out for several months. And he had to work on the business and not in the business because he had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think these things happen all the time. Not that I want to say that, you know, you want to bring an accident on, because that was definitely not what we needed for our family.
Yep.
But it's so true so many times that we say we want certain things, and we're like putting this energy out there and saying, universe, give me this is what I want to do. But then when it hits us in the face and we're faced with it, like, I'm not quite so sure, I think I need to step back, like, how do I do this? So knowing the path to get there is so critical too.
I love that you said that, and bringing like the energy and out to the universe and whatnot, because I truly feel like there is that some part of that is real, right? Like, there's so many people that are like, oh, it sounds too woo-woo or whatever. But to some extent, whatever you want to believe in, whatever you say that you want and the actions you take to get there. For example, like there was an opportunity for us like a couple years ago that presented itself after I had for so long been like, man, we were at the beginning phases and we were struggling to find clients and everything like that. And then I was like, I wanted just an opportunity to meet these people, my ideal clients, and do it. And then something came up and it was right there. And I was like, oh, the first thing I told myself was like, I can't afford it. Now, I'm sure you run into this as well. And here's me, the universe, or whatever it is you want to source or whatever you want to call it, literally putting a mirror up to you and says like, it's right here. You asked for this. Now take it if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it, make it happen. It's not going to be given to you, but it's right. I'm presenting it for you right here. So like once that opportunity happened, like, I mean, it was like a couple $100, and I was like, at the time I was like, I can't afford this, right? And I made the commitment, and I trusted myself, and I believed more in myself than in my fear, and I invested into it. I did this thing, and ever since then, we've just exponentially been growing. Because I wanted it, it presented itself, and when it's presented itself, I took action. And I think of most people, and you might agree with this as well, most people get presented with that and they're scared of it. Because now it's showing you like, this is what you asked for. Now it's your turn to take action, whether you do something about it or not. And most people will stay with their fear and inaction and then continue to be okay with like, well, one day I want it.
Right. And that's where you really haven't made the decision. You just keep saying that's what you want.
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, when we put things out there, the universe just provides it, right? Like whatever you believe in, it will be given to you. So if you want something bad enough, you just have to take the right steps, and you have to understand what it means. But that's the problem, is so many people, like, you say you want something, and, I use the analogy of people say they want more money, right? And then, if I hand you $1, you have more money, but are you happy with it? And like, no, because I want more. Well, you got to be specific.
Yeah.
It has to be specific and measurable about what you want. Do you want $1,000 more, 10,000, 100,000? Like, if you're not specific, if something shows up, like the $1 bill, you just write it off as you weren't getting to the results that you want, and you don't think it's actually happening.
I love that so much. Like, there's so much I can rant about that all day, but I won't. But yeah, it's true. We do get what we ask for. And sometimes it presents for selves. Like you mentioned, like someone says, like, I want more money. In the case where I mentioned before, I was like, I want to find more ideal clients. And an opportunity presented itself where I needed to invest first to see these people.
Yes.
And I could have said no. I could have stuck with that, like, I can't afford it. But I don't even want to think where I'd be now. But like, it happens. Sometimes it's like, cool. you put the energy out there, that's the universe challenging you and be like, prove it.
Yep.
And I feel like there's so much of that in business. Like there's so much mindset involved along with the actual action. Sure, what we do, we can be the best at something, but if our mindset isn't right. So tell us a little bit more about the book and like where can we find out more about getting some more information to be able to scale even faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book you can get on my website, tamijaffe.com, and my name's spelled a little differently. It's Tamijaffe, for those of you listening and not seeing my name there. But you can get that there, as well as my offer for you all today is my my Jumpstart Your Business Corporate to Cash Jumpstart Kit, which is also on my website. And it's going to give you the first 4 things you need to do in order to make that move from employee to entrepreneur so you can do it without all the headaches.
Awesome. I love it. So yeah, that way you can avoid the mistakes that we both made at the very beginning. I know there was a lot of them. I can only speak for myself, but I know there was a lot of them. Very, very costly. And had I known people like you and like the people I know now, I'm just like, man, that would have been so much. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make it easier. I have to add that as an disclaimer, because oftentimes people think like, oh yeah, I find somebody and they're going to make it easier. No one ever makes it easier. They make it faster. They move you faster to where you want to get to. You still have to do the work. You can't, there's nothing in life is given for free.
Yes, I love that you made that distinguishment, because it's so true that, and there are obstacles you have to overcome just because they're your own mindset obstacles.
Yep.
So, we can't give you a magic pill to make all that just go away and make it happen. Although I do energy work and I can help a little bit with that, but there's still a process you have to go through in order to get in the right mindset to know when that opportunity shows up that you're ready for it. And that you have the courage to step out and take it.
I love it. No, I love it. And like, exactly, to add to that, to just beat that dead horse, it's just, people have come to me before, they're like, yeah, I want to run ads because I want to scale this. And I take a look at what they're offering and what their whole client experience is. And I'm like, ads are not magic pills. They're not pixie dust. It's not going to make you millions of dollars. It's going to amplify what you're doing. And I like to position it that way because that's what happens. Ads simply amplify what you're doing. If what you're doing is crap, you're going to get a lot of crap. If what you're doing is unicorn magic, you're going to get a lot more unicorn magic. But that's all ads do. Like in a nutshell, that's what it does.
Exactly.
So yeah, so head on over to Tami Jaffe. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
JAFFE.com and go ahead and download her checklist so that you can get started and avoid those same mistakes that we all made. And then have a conversation with her. Have her walk you through what to do next. It helps to have someone like that in your corner. Every successful entrepreneur always has a coach, some consultant in their corner, guiding them, helping them what to do next, because we can only see so much from our perspective. When someone outward looking in, helping us, who's been there, who's done that, who's gone through everything we've gone through, can look at it from a different perspective or a different lens and give you clarity around what you want to do and how to get there faster. So thank you so much, Tami, for coming on today. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Yes, thank you, Victor. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And before I forget, if you're still looking to generate never-ending leads, head on over to ventobot.com/book to get your free copy of the Complete Automation Strategy. The 4 phases we walk you through in this book are how we generate leads and how we implement our systems for all of our clients. Super fundamental and simple. We specifically work on social platforms, but you can take the same principles and apply them to any media buying platform. Until next time, I'm Victor with VentoBot, and I will see you on another episode. Bye.